Every month, millions of Americans over 60 quietly pay for things they barely use, not because they forgot, not because they're bad with money, but because nobody ever told them something surprising. Some of the most expensive purchases you'll ever make aren't the ones you buy. They're the ones you keep. A second car that hasn't left the driveway in months. A storage unit filled with boxes no one has opened in years. A vacation property that now feels more like a bill than a getaway. None of these seemed like mistakes when you bought them. In fact, they probably made perfect sense. But retirement changes something that few people talk about. Your lifestyle changes much faster than your expenses do. And if you're not paying attention, yesterday's good decisions can quietly become today's biggest money leaks. Today, we're looking at 5 things retirees often continue paying for long after they've stopped getting real value from them. This isn't about telling you what to sell. It's about helping you decide what still earns its place in your life. Because sometimes the easiest way to improve your retirement isn't earning more money. It's simply stopping money from slipping away. Number 5, the second car. Let's start in a garage. Imagine opening the door and seeing a car covered with a thin layer of dust. The tires are fine, the paint still shines, the battery might even start. But there's one question that matters. When was the last time you actually drove it? For decades, 2 cars made perfect sense. One for each spouse, 2 jobs, different schedules, school pickups, doctor appointments, grocery runs. Life was busy. Then retirement arrived. The morning commute disappeared. Errands became flexible. One car suddenly handled almost everything. But the second one stayed, not because anyone needed it, because getting rid of it never felt urgent. Here's what makes that expensive. Even when a car barely moves, many of its biggest costs never stop. Insurance still arrives. Registration still arrives. Taxes still arrive in many states. According to AAA's annual driving cost study, insurance and registration alone can add up to thousands of dollars every year, even before paying for fuel or maintenance. And then there's depreciation. People often think mileage determines a car's value. It doesn't. Time matters too. Every year that passes, the car becomes older in the eyes of buyers, whether it drove 20,000 miles or 20. Then something else begins to happen. A car that sits still actually ages differently. Batteries lose charge, fuel degrades, rubber dries out, seals begin to crack. Ironically, driving a car occasionally is often healthier than leaving it parked. One retiree calculated what his second vehicle was costing. Insurance, registration, basic maintenance, the occasional battery replacement. He divided the total by the number of trips he'd taken that year. Each trip had effectively cost him more than a luxury rideshare. That changed his perspective overnight. Now, there are absolutely good reasons to keep a second vehicle. If 2 people still drive independently, if one vehicle is specially equipped for mobility, or if you live in an area where public transportation and rideshare services barely exist, keeping both cars may still make perfect financial sense. But if the second vehicle has quietly become permanent garage furniture, it may be worth asking yourself one simple question. If you didn't already own it, would you buy it today? That's often where the answer becomes surprisingly clear. Number 4, the storage unit. Now let's leave the garage and open another door. This one rolls upward. Inside are couches, holiday decorations, boxes marked kitchen, photo albums, old lamps, exercise equipment, and several boxes labeled miscellaneous. Nobody rents a storage unit expecting it to become permanent. Most people think they'll need it for a few months, during a move, a renovation, while helping family. Then life gets busy. Months become years. Automatic payments continue. And eventually, the storage unit simply becomes part of the monthly budget. Industry data shows the average self-storage unit now costs well over $100 per month in many parts of the country. That may not sound dramatic. Until you stretch the timeline, $100 becomes $1,200 a year. 5 years becomes $6,000. 10 years, well over $12,000. And that's before any price increases. Here's the uncomfortable part. Many people couldn't tell you exactly what's inside anymore. If someone asked whether every item in that unit was worth $6,000 or $10,000, most people honestly wouldn't know. Walk through almost any storage facility in America, and you'll notice something interesting. The buildings are full, not because people constantly use what's inside, but because making decisions is emotionally difficult. That old dining table reminds you of family dinners. The crib belonged to your children. The boxes hold memories. There's nothing wrong with keeping memories, but memories don't always require rented square footage. One financial planner tells clients to imagine a water pipe bursting inside their storage unit tonight. Would you rush over tomorrow morning, or would you mostly be upset about the photographs? That question often reveals what's truly valuable and what simply hasn't been sorted yet. Of course, there are good reasons to rent storage: temporary moves, major home renovations, protecting valuable collections, business inventory. Those situations are very different. The danger isn't storage itself. The danger is paying year after year for decisions you've postponed. Number 3, the timeshare. If the first two quietly drain your wallet, this one often announces itself every year, usually with another maintenance bill. Timeshares were sold with an attractive promise: guaranteed vacations, beautiful resorts, family traditions. For many owners, those vacations really did create wonderful memories. But retirement changes travel too. Health changes, schedules change, children move away, grandchildren get older. Suddenly, using the same resort every year isn't as appealing as it once was. The surprising part isn't the original purchase price, it's what happens afterward. Industry reports show average annual maintenance fees have climbed dramatically over the past several years. For many owners, those yearly fees now total well over $1,000. And unlike a hotel, you pay whether you visit or not. The resort still needs maintenance, staff, landscaping, insurance, utilities. Those costs continue. So do the bills. Then comes an even bigger problem. Many owners discover their timeshare is much harder to sell than they expected. Resale prices often fall far below what people originally paid. Some listings receive almost no interest at all. Unfortunately, that frustration has created another industry. Companies promising easy exits. Some are legitimate, some are not. Federal and state authorities have taken action against multiple companies accused of charging thousands of dollars while failing to deliver the promised exit services. Many older adults lost significant savings believing they had finally found a solution. One of the most common scare tactics involved telling owners that their children would automatically inherit endless maintenance fees. The reality is far more complicated than that. Estate laws differ by state, and heirs often have legal options that dishonest companies conveniently fail to mention. Fear became part of the sales pitch. That's why experts consistently recommend researching any exit company carefully before paying anyone up front. For some families, keeping the timeshare still makes perfect sense. If it's fully paid off, the fees remain reasonable, and your family actually uses it every single year. It can still provide excellent value. The key word is actually, because the most expensive vacation is often the one you never take. Number 2, the boat, the RV, or the camper. Now let's talk about something many retirees have dreamed about for decades: freedom. A fishing boat waiting at the lake, an RV pointed toward the mountains, a camper ready for one more cross-country adventure. For some people, those dreams become reality, and when they're used regularly, they're worth every penny. The problem isn't owning one. The problem is owning one after you've quietly stopped using it. Here's how it usually happens. The first year, you take 6 trips. The next year, maybe 4. Then one grandchild has baseball every weekend. A doctor's appointment gets moved. The weather doesn't cooperate. Before long, an entire season goes by without turning the key. The bills, however, never miss a season. Insurance is due, registration is due, storage fees arrive, winterizing, maintenance, batteries, tires, roof inspections, engine service. Even sitting still costs money. Boat owners often hear a simple rule from experienced mechanics. If you can't afford to maintain it, you probably can't afford to own it. Because neglect becomes expensive. An engine that isn't run regularly can develop problems. Water finds tiny openings. Rubber seals dry out. Batteries fail. Small repairs become large repairs. RVs have their own version of the same story. A tiny roof leak doesn't stay tiny. One unnoticed crack can allow water inside for months. By the time stains appear on the ceiling, the damage underneath may already cost thousands of dollars. Then comes the question almost nobody asks. What does each trip actually cost? Imagine your RV costs $4,000 a year to insure, store, maintain, and register. If you only use it 4 weekends, that's $1,000 per trip before buying fuel. Sometimes seeing the math changes everything. Not because the memories weren't worth it, but because there may be a cheaper way to create new ones. Renting an RV once or twice a year, chartering a fishing boat, booking a lakeside cabin. You still get the experience, without paying 12 months a year for something used only a handful of days. That doesn't mean selling is always the right answer, far from it. If your boat is where your family gathers every summer, keep it. If your RV is your favorite way to see America, keep it. Some purchases create value that never appears on a spreadsheet. Just make sure you're paying for today's memories, not yesterday's plans. Number 1, the house that outgrew your life. This last one is different, because it isn't just about money, it's about memories. For many retirees, this is the house where birthdays were celebrated, where children learned to walk, where grandchildren sleep during Christmas. Every room tells part of your family's story, which is exactly why this decision feels so difficult. But here's the question very few people ask. How much of your house do you actually live in now? Not own, not heat, not clean, not insure, actually live in. Many couples spend nearly all their time in just a handful of rooms. The kitchen, the living room, one bedroom, maybe a home office. Meanwhile, 2 or 3 bedrooms stay empty almost every day of the year. The house hasn't become too large overnight. Life has simply become smaller, and there's nothing wrong with that. The costs, however, don't shrink along with your lifestyle. Property taxes continue. Homeowners insurance continues. Heating and cooling continue. The roof still ages. The driveway still cracks. The lawn still grows. The gutters still clog. According to multiple homeowner surveys, maintenance and repairs cost thousands of dollars every year for the average American home. Larger homes generally require more maintenance, more utilities, and more time. Then comes something money can't fully measure. Physical effort, the stairs that once felt effortless, the heavy vacuum, cleaning upstairs windows, dragging holiday decorations down from the attic, shoveling snow, raking leaves, one task at a time. The house slowly asks a little more from you each year. Eventually, many homeowners begin paying other people to do jobs they once handled themselves. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The important part is recognizing when the house is serving you and when you're serving the house. Interestingly, many retirees who choose to downsize report something unexpected. They don't talk about missing bedrooms. They talk about gaining time, less cleaning, less maintenance, lower utility bills, less stress every time something breaks, more freedom to travel, more freedom to spend money on experiences instead of repairs. Of course, downsizing isn't always the answer. Some homes are perfectly suited for aging in place, single-story layouts, close to family, affordable to maintain, filled with neighbors you love. Those are powerful reasons to stay exactly where you are. The goal isn't to convince anyone to move. The goal is to make sure the decision is yours, not one forced by declining health, or an emergency, or a deadline you never wanted. Because the best time to make a major life decision is while you still have plenty of choices. Notice something about all 5 items. None of them were bad purchases. In fact, they were probably excellent decisions. At one point, the second car made life easier. The storage unit solved a problem. The timeshare created vacations. The RV promised adventure. The family home became the center of countless memories. The problem wasn't buying them. The problem was never asking when their job was finished. Retirement has a funny way of changing the value of things. Time becomes more valuable. Convenience becomes more valuable. Peace of mind becomes more valuable. Meanwhile, many possessions quietly become less valuable than the freedom they cost. So here's a simple exercise. Sometime this week, walk through your garage, open that storage unit, look around your home, and ask yourself one question. If I didn't already own this, would I spend my money to buy it today? If the answer is yes, keep it proudly. Enjoy it. Use it. Make memories with it. But if the answer is no, don't feel guilty. It doesn't mean you made a bad decision. It simply means your life has changed. And that's exactly what retirement is supposed to do. Sometimes the smartest financial move isn't finding another investment. It's letting go of something that's quietly been taking money from you every single year. Because the less money you spend maintaining things you no longer need, the more you have available for the people, the places, and the experiences that still bring you joy. If you enjoyed this video, don't miss the next one. We look at 5 purchases retirees make with the best intentions, but almost always regret later. Some of them are surprisingly common, and avoiding just one could save you thousands of dollars.